we are going to look at the effects of lasers. So what do lasers produce? The first thing is lasers produce heat. So yes, it coagulates, it can cauterize different vascular lesions, it can remove different types of lesions on the skin. You can excise, like if you had a CO2 laser, you can vaporize that tissue. And if you didn't move your laser, you would create a hole in the skin. In other words, because of the vaporization, you will have ablation happening, and then you have necrosis, carbonization, and then coagulation. So you must be able to move the laser across the skin and not keep it on the same spot because it produces heat, right? The second one is photoablative. Photoablative lasers are lasers that will break the molecular bonds. Our skin is attached to the next layer of skin. So the first layer of your skin, which is your epidermis, it has flattened cells. Now these flattened cells are attached to each other by little structures called desmosomes. When we use UV light that will release the biological material, and in other words, it breaks this bond, that's when we get sun damage. It breaks those bonds. Eczema lasers, on the other hand, are used to treat psoriasis, which is an immune disorder, eczema, and those sort of diseases. So these are lasers that we sell to dermatologists. It is only for a few seconds that they use it, because if you are getting psoriasis or eczema treatment, for instance, you will find that they cause infection because their dead skin is falling out, but they attach the rest of the body through desmosomes. So even though they're scratching because they're dead skin cells that's coming out, however, this is dead and it's still attached to the skin. So by exposing them to the UV, you can release the bonds, the molecular bonds, and this is called photoablation. So it removes those molecular bonds and helps them get a good result. Another biological effect is called electromechanical. And now electromechanical requires extremely high power. These are what is used with a Q-switch laser, whether it's Nd:YAG or a dye laser. They are helping to break the bonds and rupture the tissues, and that's one of the ways in which we remove pigmentation. We rupture the ink in the tattoos, pulverize them into minute particles so that your macrophages or your white blood cells can come and take them away. The nanosecond lasers were used to remove most of the tattoos, and it's about 10 to 12 treatments. However, the picosecond laser, which is 1/1,000,000th of a second instead of 1/1,000,000th of a second, the nanosecond lasers are 1/1,000,000th of a second, and they break the tattoo ink even further. This is the picosecond, and by breaking it further, it doesn't end up in your lymph. If you're treating somebody with a nanosecond laser, the rupture of these particles are still quite large. They end up sitting in your lymph. So the picosecond laser doesn't use heat. It uses instead a photomechanical way. It's like a shock treatment because it's 1/1,000,000th of a second. So that is the photochemical, which changes the melanin, darkens the melanin. It's a chemical process with absorption of visible ultraviolet or infrared light, and it converts light energy to chemical energy. For example, the sonars or UV going into solariums, they create chemical energy. The last biological effect of lasers is the low intensity lasers, but even high powered lasers can produce what we call a stimulatory effect. It stimulates the collagen in the skin and produces more collagen, and it's one way of removing your wrinkles.